Good evening, everyone. I'm Bruce Evanson from Suncoast Fly Fishers. Tonight we're going to tie the Shimmer Fringe Minnow. This Shimmer Fringe is a material I've known about but never really done anything with. Cliff Nye talked highly about it, so I decided to give it a try. I think you can see I've been quite impressed with it. I've made quite a few flies in the last week and a half with it. But today we're going to make this minnow, which I think will work well. What we're using is and you'll see it in the instructions in front, we're going to use a size 2 circle hook. And I'm just going to load up here, and I'm going to use some white flat wax nylon, which I'm just going to wrap from the hook eye to the hook point. And I'm going to come back just in front of the hook point, stop there, and do it. Now what I'm going to use is I'm going to start with some white supreme hair, which I'm going to take about a matchstick thickness of. Clip that off here. And put that. Now with this, due to the length, I'm going to cut this in half. Now I'm going to take the first half of it and come right up here on the back of my circle hook, and just above the hook eye, I'm going to give it 2 wraps, or the hook point, excuse me, and I'm going to work this material around the shank of the hook, and I'm going to draw this up tight, wrap it down. Okay. Now, that's on there. Now I'm going to take some white Shimmer Fringe, which is their pearl, and I'm going to cut this about, maybe 1/8 of an inch thick. You can see here. Pull that out. Now I'm going to take and just clip off this area where it's been heated together. Put my eyes on, I'm getting old here. Okay, and I'm going to lay it down right atop of that material also. And I always wrap over the same area. I don't try to go back further. I'll go forward and come back just because I'm going to build up my body. Okay, I put there. Now, I'm going to take the second piece of materials that I showed you, like I did on the first. I'm going to lay it right over top of the first one, give it a couple wraps, line it up where I want it here, tie her down nice and tight like I did before. Okay, and I'm going to repeat and put on another application of Shimmer Fringe, again about 1/8 inch wide. Again, I'm going to cut off the little hard tab that it's on. I'm going to come up top and apply that Shimmer Fringe right over the surface again. Give that a wrap down. Wrap it all the way back to where the last one was tied to. So now I have 2 layers on here with 2 layers of Shimmer Fringe. Next, I'm going to take a piece of Chartreuse and go just a little bit thicker than what I did with the white. And I'm gonna cut it off. I am not gonna double it this time. I'm merely gonna cut it off, find my length here, which will be right here, right to there. Now I'm going to cut this off here. That's just excess I won't be needing or using. Okay. Now I'm going to take the green, bring it up front again here. Let it wrap on here. Now I'm going to wrap this back. Got that on now. Now I'm going to take some of this is Chartreuse and peacock back, they call it. You see the Chartreuse on this side, and it's a little darker with the peacock back on this side. I'm going to cut a piece now, almost 1/4 inch in width. Pull that off, and I'm going to clip it off the board again. Now if you notice, I'm going to put the Chartreuse side up, the peacock side down. So I'm going to take this here, get it out to the length I want it there, right here. Okay, and this is Chartreuse up. Now I'm going to do one more set, and I'm going to come in here again at just about 1/4 inch. And this time I'm going to turn it over and put the peacock back up. I'm going to take that right here. Once again, I'm going to come right on the top surface, put on a few wraps here. Now I'm going to wrap this so I have a nice white head and all that shimmer flash and everything covered up. Okay. Now I'm going to give it a couple of knots. And caught that on the barb. Okay. You retie that knot. Right back here. Okay, catching it. Now, got that on. I'm going to snip this close, and I'm going to put just a drop of super glue on it. That's it, to let that knot get hardened. Now, I'm going to turn this over. And you can use an eye accordingly. My head here is fairly large, so I'm going to go to a 5mm red eye. And put that on here. Typically, when I've got a head this large wrapped in thread, I don't bother to put any glue. I just use the stickiness of these eyes that come on the back, because I just want it to stick long enough on here for me to put epoxy over top of it, which will seal it in, so I don't have to really glue this down harder. If I were tying it on or gluing it to the hairs there, I would definitely use an adhesive with it, but because it's just going over thread, I'm going to leave it like so. Now I'm going to cover this with epoxy, and I'm going to use the thin right here. And what I'm going to do is turn it over to the bottom first, and I'm going to come just behind the eye here and across the eye and down. Then I'm going to come just behind the eye here and across the eye and down. And I'm going to fill it in between and make sure I fill the little eye gaps. Now when I'm using a fair amount of epoxy like this, while I'm doing all of this, it's sagging down to the other side, so I turn it over a second and let the material sag back. Now that I think it's back to the point of sagging back, I'm going to turn it over and set the flash to it. I have to allow this 30 seconds, so we're just going to let this go for 30 seconds. It takes a little bit of time. It seems like 30 seconds is forever when you're waiting for it, but because we're doing this in real time, we've got to give it the full extent. As soon as I get this done on this side and hardened, okay, I'm at 30 seconds. I'm going to turn it over and repeat the process on the other side, which again, I come behind the eye so I have an adequate amount, and across the eye, down the side. Here I go behind the eye, across the eye, and then I'm going to fill in the top with epoxy. Again, I'm going to turn it over and let it sag back into shape, because it'll give me that little roundness, naturalness that I want. Now I'm going to let it go. I'm going to give it 30 seconds again. This thing has a remarkable amount of flash in it, shimmer, and it's a nice soft flash because the strands are so thin and nice, and because I've used 4 layers of it in between, I will brush it out with a flake comb, and that just kind of mixes all of it up together and in amongst the hair, and it really gives it a very nice, very natural look. Let's see here. Okay, I've gotten that 30 seconds done. I've got that there. Now what I'm going to do is slip it out of the vise for a minute. Okay, and I'm going to take my scissors. I'm going to give it a little haircut on the bottom. You can see how it's doing. I'm going to cut it at about this angle across from the middle forward. Cut that there. You can see that. Now I'm going to come to the top, and I squeeze it down to broaden it out a little bit. I'm going to cut a little V back here, and then I'm going to just bevel it like I always like to. And there you have an attractive shimmer flash minnow, and if you just watch as I turn it, you can see how nice the shimmering takes place. So in the water, you know that it's going to catch a lot of attention. So again, I want you to go out and catch some fish on it, and in the meantime, thank you.